If you have a Spark or you are looking into getting a Spark, you might be very interested in flying it inside because flying it inside is really cool and it's nice and small, so it should be pretty easy to fly around. However, there's a couple tips that we need to go over to make sure that you flying inside is successful. So let's get everything powered on and take a look at those, and then obviously try out a couple of different modes and fly around and see how that looks. The first thing that we're going to do, of course, is get everything powered on. So go ahead and power on your Spark and your controller. So now that you've got everything fired up here, you can go ahead and hit start flight, except we're not going to be flying just yet. So the first thing that we're going to do here is open up the settings and click on the very top one here. And you can see the different return home modes. Now, we're actually not going to be changing any of these. Normally on the Mavic, there's a setting so you can tell it if you lose control, or not lose control, but if you lose reception with the controller or something happens with that, you can have it hover in place. Now, unfortunately, the Spark for some reason doesn't have that, but it does have a couple other modes that it automatically does. So the mode that we are using automatically here is when the Spark is flying, if we lose reception, because we're within a certain distance of where we took off, it's not going to go and try to fly back to where it's at. So that's going to be helpful, of course. I don't plan on having any issues if we lose reception, but if we do, that's what the Spark is going to do. Now, on top of that, if we do lose reception, it'll go and it'll hover basically. So for the Wi-Fi, if it loses connection for more than 20 seconds, that's when it's going to try to auto land. Or if you're using the remote control and it goes more than 3 seconds, that's when it will initiate and automatically try to land. So let's go ahead and take off. You can see on there right now that we don't have a position being saved or achieved with GPS. So now that that's up in the air, we can fly around. Now the thing is though, we're inside a house and we probably don't want to be flying super fast because walls and everything else are easy to run into. So what we're going to do is, once we're at a good spot here, we'll open up our menu and we're gonna go to tripod mode. So when we hit tripod mode, it makes everything a lot smoother. So when I go full forward, that's as fast as I can fly. So it makes it a lot easier to fly around. Now, one thing when you are using tripod mode is its rotational speed is very, very slow. So that is me fully turning left, or excuse me, right. So you can tell that it's just, it works, but it's not really snappy. But you can see you can fly around easily, rotate, you can see the airs coming up for obstacles. Now the obstacle sensing is another thing that we might be turning off. See, normally with the Spark, if you try to fly into something, like for example, the television, it'll say, hey, something's there, and right now I'm going full forward, but I still can't hit the TV. So you might find that when you're trying to go through certain hallways or that kind of thing, it won't let you. So if that happens, you're gonna have to go into the settings here, and you're gonna have to change and toggle that off. Now when you do that, it makes it a lot more dangerous to fly because it's gonna let you fly right past walls and it won't stop you if you do try to hit something. So do keep that in mind. So rotate here. And I do have a fan right above me, and so any turbulence right now is probably caused from that. So now you can see I can come super close. I'm not gonna go quite in front of my face, but you can tell that it is right there and it has no problems getting right up next to me. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and turn those sensors back on. And we'll go ahead and land. We are all set, got a new battery in there, so let's go ahead and take off, and now I'm going to show you what happens when it loses connection with the controller while it's flying. So now you can see everything's flying, Obviously, we've got this set up and the controller is on. So what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. So now the controller is completely off. So now at this point, the Spark isn't being controlled by anything, and you can see the lights on the back blinking, letting us know that, hey, I'm not connected. So when it's doing that, it's just hovering there. So normally if you have return to home set up, it's gonna try to fly up and then over to wherever you're at. Now, because we are within a certain distance of where we took off, the Spark, you can see, automatically drop down, and it's about a foot off of the ground. So now what's great is if we gain connection again, we can turn the controller back on. So we'll wait for that and see that it's still hovering there because it's waiting for us to tell it to land. Because the controller turned on, it reconnected and everything, so that's why it's beeping, letting us know like, hey, something's going on here. However, it doesn't look like the iPad has reconnected. And I just went back, hit OK, and now that it's reconnected, it's going to go ahead and land. So there we go. Now you can see exactly what the Spark is going to do if it loses reception with your controller. Basically, wherever it's at, it's just going to hover, it's going to drop down to 1 foot, and it's going to sit there. Now the questions that I guess I have is, how does it necessarily know how far it's gone from its takeoff point? So that I don't know. But bottom line is, when you're flying inside, you don't have to worry about it trying to jump up to your return to home height, which might be set at 100 or 50 meters or whatever it is that's safe for your area. And that, of course, you should be redoing every single time that you are flying the drone. You need to set it up for the area, so that way if there's trees or houses, you make sure it goes ahead and clears that height. So basically, you can see here that because we're flying inside and we haven't gone a certain distance away from where we originally took off from, the drone will automatically hover there and wait for our command. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and fly this around and see what kind of shots we can get with tripod mode.